Kenny Hill Gardening Simplified. It's August 14th, and we're going to talk about what we're planting. Okay, we're going to start with some more cilantro. And as you see, I've multi-sown these, put quite a few in here. And I've talked about this in previous videos. This just makes it a whole lot easier for harvesting. These seeds are getting older. These are from 2 years ago, almost 2 years. And their germination rate goes down on cilantro. This was 80% when in 2010 of 22, so they're probably lower, which this ensures I get a good bunch each place I plant this. I always start my next cilantro whenever I put the last batch in the ground. I start more seeds. That ensures me usually that I have a good crop. Now in the real hot heat, that didn't work. I did end up with a period there that I don't have any, but I've got some that's probably a week or two away from being harvested. But yes, it is hot. Now I grow this in the greenhouse. You could grow this outside, but our temperatures are like bumping 100, or they're going to be 100 maybe tomorrow. But so it dries this out. It needs a lot of water to keep it going. Now I grow it in the greenhouse where I've got shade cloth, and it cuts down some of that heat, but it's still got to be watered at least twice a day. I just got back from out watering everything that I just planted, and we'll go look at all that stuff here in a little bit. But anyway, we're going to start with that. I've got more trays that's ready to go, and I have some little pots. I guess these are 2.5 or 3-inch pots. And what I'm going to do with that, I've had real poor germination. Now this seed is just last year's seed, but I don't get good germination off my gypsy broccoli a lot of times. So what I'm going to do is plant that in those 3-inch pots, and then I'll prick them out and put them in cell trays after they germinate. That way I don't have a lot of empty ones, because the last tray that I did, this size 72 cell tray, I ended up with maybe a dozen cells that they germinated in. Well, I probably planted half a tray, so out of 36 I only got about a third of them up. So instead of wasting a lot of time putting them in there, I'll just take the extra time to pot them up. Now we are going to plant cauliflower. Now I understand it is bumping 100, but now these plants, I'll germinate them inside because they germinate better where it's a little cooler, and about 78 degrees here in my workshop. So, and we'll put them on the grow station. We've got something over there now, and we're going to plant this cauliflower the same way. We're going to plant it in the 3-inch pots and prick them out. We've got a couple of varieties, and we'll plant them both. And then we're going to take and plant some more cabbage. Now we've got this early Jersey. Now the early Jersey cabbage, and these seeds are still really good. I keep these in the freezer, but they still have a good germination rate. I can put 2-3 in a cell, and I'll usually get at least a couple of them germinate, and I'll just thin them out as I go. Sometimes I don't check it good later on after they start coming up, and I'll get an extra one come up with them, but it's easy enough to pull them out. Now I have some Mitchell seed. Now this is over 2 years old. I'm going to go ahead and plant this, but I do have my saved seed here that's a little over a year old, and it's got real good germination. We're also going to plant some red cabbage. Now this seed here it's got a little age to it. I was trying to see if I could see what the date on it was, and it is, there's somewhere This was this about 2-year-old seed. Now it doesn't germinate as well, so I just put 4 or 5 seeds in there and let it go. Now red cabbage is a lot slower growing, and understand, even though we are in the bump in the hundreds, these plants won't be ready to go out for probably at least 4 to 5, 6 weeks. So what we'll do is we get them up, they start to germinate, and we get that germination rate good, and then we go ahead and we'll put them in a row in the greenhouse. That way they're not getting full sun, but they're getting enough sun that they won't end up leggy. Now I recommend growing your own transplants from seed. For one is selection. You can select things like different types. Now the gypsy broccoli, I like it. It's much better flavor. It's a lot tenderer. It doesn't grow quite as well as the green magic. Both of them are hybrids. I have poor luck with the broccoli that isn't hybrids, but the green magic just doesn't have the flavor. It's tougher. It doesn't have as much flavor. This is the one we really like, and this is the one that customers, that the market really likes. So that's the one we're going to plant. And you need to know that when you plant them, because whenever you go to feed stores or your box stores like Home Depot, Lowe's, Tractor Supply, stuff like that, they're going to have only certain varieties, and a lot of those varieties, they might grow good, but you want to concentrate on flavor, because you're going to have to eat it. And I do recommend trying to stay as organic as possible. Definitely don't use chemical pesticides. Now I know some of you have a problem that it's much easier to source chemical fertilizers than it is to do organic, but I'm going to recommend organic. Things like broccoli, cauliflower. If these get fish emulsion on a regular basis, and a lot of times I slack because I get other projects that come up, whether it's equipment repairs or oil change on vehicles, stuff like that, or maybe I'm going to be doing my greenhouse project. But sometimes life takes us away. Don't think that. Don't get stressed over it. Just try to fit that in best you can. And know if your plants don't do good, what the cause was. But anyway, we're going to plant some kale, some dinosaur kale, lacinato kale. This black magic kale is a good one. Now this seed is 4 years old, but it still has good germination because of the way it was stored. Now we're still in the time where we can plant some more summer squash. So we're going to plant some more squash. We're going to get another batch. It should produce. It might not produce a lot, but instead of having a bare area in the garden that we're not utilizing, if we can get the weeds out, which, as you know, this year I've had a lot of problems with weeds. We're going to plant some more lettuce. This is I've got some new romaine lettuce seed, so I'll grow these as head lettuce. I'm thinking about just filling the small greenhouse with romaine lettuce. That way, I should have a pretty good bit. Let's see what we got here. We're going to plant some greens. We don't grow a whole lot of greens, but we'll plant some. Now it's still a little hot to start thinking about planting spinach. We'd have real poor germination. And now we're going to start planting some onions. Now normally we don't put out onions until the middle of October, maybe towards the end of October, even up to the middle of November. But I like to get a batch early. We just put some in the garden. We're going to take and plant some of these seeds, get them germinating and up, not a whole lot. We might plant half a tray. We could plant a whole tray. And that's going to be our 36 cell bigger trays. And we'll go into all that as we go along here. Okay, when planting your own seeds, and I'm going to do this kind of basic, there's a lot of out there starting in gardening. If you get one of these little seed planting tools, they're relatively inexpensive. They have numbers on them. The grooves are wider as it goes around. Now this one here has been through the ringer. It's kind of broke. It doesn't make a difference, and I don't use the smallest hole anyway, even though these are little bitty seeds. Now these are Mitchell Healy seeds. I actually did a separate video on Mitchell Healy talking about it. I really like it. It's got a unique flavor. Now, I just get me a bunch of seeds in here, and whenever I plant, I like to use my tweezers, and I'll put 2 or 3 seeds in a hole. And it's not a fast process like this, but if you're in a hurry to plant and grow, then you're not enjoying the whole adventure of growing your own vegetables. A lot of times society or life tells us we got to be in a hurry and do everything fast, and that's the big lie that's told. You have plenty of time. You just choose what you use your time for. And I mean, we're here for just a short period. It seems like a long time. 100 years would seem like a long time. A lot of people aren't here for half of that. But there's no need in rushing through that. I don't want to get all zen, but there's no need in rushing through life. Enjoy what you do. Gardening won't be near as rough of an ordeal as far as dealing with the situation and stuff. You say, oh, well, I got to water. I can't go do this. I can't go do that. Well, do your priorities. I mean, a lot of people prioritize, I'm going to watch a certain series, or I'm going to watch a movie, or something like that. And they get their lives so busy with things like entertainment. Hell, I got to take my kids to soccer. I got to take my kids to football. I got to go watch a football game. If that's your choice, if that's how you're going to actually enjoy life, rushing around, having to worry about and stress over being somewhere in a certain time, you need to rethink what you're doing, because that's not enjoying life. That's stressing over the things that society teaches us over time. I'm not a real big sports person, and some might say that's one of the reasons I say I don't that I got a lot of big or spare time. But that's not the case. I choose that's not what I want to do. I choose that I want to garden. I want to grow things. I enjoy growing things. I enjoy my successes. They're not all successes, but it's really worthwhile. And when you start into gardening and growing your own food, take the time to see what's in processed food. You know, you hear a lot of that stuff about processed food, and that's getting to be so common, people don't even think what processed food is. But if you don't make your food from scratch, you don't buy your ingredients, things like that, then you're getting food that's got all kinds of other stuff in it, whether it's to make it look prettier, whether it's something to make it uh, feel better in your mouth. Whatever reason they add a chemical uh, that's not a nutrient, and you eat that stuff. If it says fortified, they start putting folic acid in it. There's lots of things that studies have shown that are caused from that. If you start learning more about your food, and I just kind of pick it up in my spare time when I'm sitting around, relaxing. I like to learn. If you get to the point to where you're too busy to learn, then uh, you're too busy to enjoy life. We taught that we want to hurry up and get out of school, and school didn't teach too much. I mean, I learned basic stuff. I'm not going to say I know how to read, and because I know how to read, I can uh, learn more. But back in the time when I went to school, we didn't push this learning system like they have now, to where they try to get rid of free thinkers, and that's the reason why a lot of effort has been put on the homestead community and the uh, self sufficiencies, and they try to portray them as wackos because they don't want people following them. But these so-called wackos, and those are you that grew up in the city, you didn't have the opportunity to grow up on a farm. You didn't have grandparents that got to uh, teach you things. You wasn't out in the hayfield. You didn't have cows. You didn't have pigs. You didn't have chickens. And you didn't learn this stuff because things don't take care of themselves. We live in a society now that uh, we want things to take care of themselves. Basically, people are getting lazier and lazier. Uh, and I talk about it. You can't even go to the bathroom anymore, and that has an old type uh, flusher on the toilet because people don't even know how to flush the toilet when they're out there. We've grown up in a society that they want everything done for them, everything easy. If they're going to make bread, they want a bread machine. They want all this uh, technology to do something that's so simple to do without it. And they say, well, I want to do this, but my life's too busy. My life's too busy. Well, it's time to uh, unclutter that life. Now we've planted these seeds here, the Mitchahili, and our cabbage is going to be the same way. Now I planted my broccoli and my couple varieties of cauliflower. So, and remember, I was multi-sowing them, and we'll probably go through the uh, process of pricking them out and potting them up. For those of you that's new to it, I grow virtually all my uh, starts from seed. Occasionally I'll buy one or somebody will give me one. Maybe it's an herb or something I have a hard time germinating, or a variety that I can't get seed for. And uh, I'll go and buy those. But other than that, I grow everything from seed. Now, and I'm on a little bigger scale than most. I do buy more bulk seed, but for some items, even those of you that's on a little smaller scale, like purple hull peas or zipper cream peas, your peas and your beans, uh, they are you can buy them in 1 pound packs or or 5-pound packs, put them in the freezer. Now they say the germination rate goes down on peas uh, real quick, so they say don't buy a lot. I don't find that's real true. It might go down, but for the savings, it's still well worth uh, purchasing those in quantities if you have the freezer space where you can keep them. I actually have a dedicated small freezer, 7 cubic foot, for my seeds. I keep a lot of them there. Some I keep in my climate controlled storeroom because of the volume of them. And a lot of those are my peas, but they still germinate good. So there's not a problem with that. But anyway, that's the process of planting. Now, this is a 72 cell tray. These are the little packs like a lot of the plants come from when you buy them from a nursery or something. They will, they've got enough nutrients here to get them to start. Now, I don't put mine in the ground when they're big like what you'd buy at the big box stores. I find that they adjust better when they're smaller, but if they're big enough that they got a pretty good established root. And whenever you can start seeing the roots at the edge of these cell trays where the dirt stays together or your potting mix, that's the time to transplant them. You don't want them to start wrapping a bunch of roots, even though they're not to the point they're root bound. They could be stretching those roots out into the soil and get nutrients. The difference in these cell trays, even if you water them and you give them nutrients when you water them, they won't do near as well, grow near as fast as they will in the ground. I don't recommend chemical fertilizers. There's just something about synthetics. Now, you're going to hear people say one way or the other, that synthetics, the plant don't know the difference. You know the difference. I mean, it's just like vitamins. Most of your vitamins are synthetic that you get at the store. Your body can't get the nutrients out of them. You think you're doing good, and someone might say you take so much vitamin C you get rid of cold, and you take them, and you find out it doesn't because it's a synthetic version of vitamin C. It doesn't go in like a natural version that would come from fruit or something like that. But the same thing is with your nutrients. Your plant will take them up, but they're not going to react the same. They push this and push this because fertilizer companies want to sell fertilizer. They're the ones who do the studies. The other ones are small and you don't hear about them. But anyway, we're going to water these in with my handy dandy El Cheapo special water tool. This works real well because it doesn't do a lot of disturbing of the seeds like if you was going to use a water can or something like that. Now, I do have a mister that fits on my hose, and I started watering them like that when I was starting my seeds outside, and it's just so much easier to do it this way for me. It takes a little bit more time. Those of you that don't have time, take the time and grow your own. Now, if you have a big 72 cell tray like this and your cells are separated into 6 and you don't have a big garden, you can plant one variety in each one of these 6 cell compartments. And that way, if you have one that's got to be planted out before, now this was a solid sheet when I got it, but they do snap apart. But when you take and have one that's ready to go out, you can just pick up that 6-pack, take it out, and leave the rest set. Now, like I say, once I get these up, once I get pretty good germination on these, I'll move them outside. Normally the seeds have enough roots, the ones that aren't up yet, and they'll take and keep it in place if it gets a little bit of extra watering. And a good way to advance your seedlings quick is fish emulsion. It's a 5-1-1. For those of you that's NPK, if you want to know, it's 5% nitrogen, which is what a plant uses a lot of when you're wanting it to put on leafy growth. And then you have a little bit of phosphorus or phosphate and a little bit of potassium. So the plant will get the nutrients and it'll do better. Now I'm trying to water these in pretty good, and I know if it's watered enough, I can fill my tray and the weight of it, and you can get used to that. So you'll know if you got to water again, chances are you'll never have to water this. I'll put a dome over it, keep the moisture in. The chance is you won't have to water it again in this process. But now sometimes, and one edge of mine will sit next to the window. Sometimes it'll dry a little bit, so I'll go back and I'll put a little bit of water on it, and I'll rotate my tray the opposite direction. That way, it's not going to keep those seeds dry, make them germinate faster. Okay, one thing I want you to be aware of if you're growing your own starts to transplant. If you have older seed, now this Black Magic, which is a dinosaur kale or a lawsonata kale variety, it's 4 years old. The seed's 4 years old. And when you get an older seed, what's going to happen is a lot of times it's not going to germinate as quick. So understand that if you have an older seed, and it might take a week longer to germinate. I'm not going to say for sure that it is, but you might get a lot of unstable germination because a lot of them might come right up, and then you might have a bunch that you think's bad, but eventually most of them will come up. But realize that. And the other thing I stress is, depending on, or it doesn't matter which starting mix you use, whether you're going to use a seed starter, which is mostly peat. I make my own, which is a peat compost and perlite mix. But make sure you pre-moisten it. If it's dry, now this has been sitting in here in the fan, and it's still a little moist, but it's getting drier. And right now, what I would do is I would moisten this up a little bit more before I put it in the trays. Now these trays, I started this video this morning. They've got a little bit dry around the edge. I stack them up, but they get a little dry around the edge. And so I make sure I give extra moisture so that they will be moist, because what can happen, and some people don't have a problem, but I know I have in the past where I've used seed starter. I just put it in there dry, started my seeds, and it was so hydrophobic that it wouldn't take water. It would just sit on top. I put the tray, filled the bottom tray with water, set it in there, and it still wouldn't take it. Now, if you get in a situation like that, you messed up, you did that, you can take, and I would recommend Castile soap, but you can take a little bit of soap and mix it in the water. It doesn't take a whole lot. But what that soap will do is it'll make that water to where it can go on through there. It'll get rid of that problem about the soil being hydrophobic. But anyway, be special note to the fact that older seeds can take longer to germinate. Now let's see some of these things. I want to give an update here on my tomato. These were the suckers that we potted up. They stayed in the pots way too long. Kind of slowed them down. They should be 2-3 times this size, but like I say, you got to do what you can do when you can do it. So, but anyway, finally got them out today. We even put the ones that didn't look so good at the end of the row. If they don't do good, we'll just let them go on. But we'll head here to the greenhouse. Most of our new transplants are out there, so you can kind of see. Now, we did plant a bunch of onions. These were about 2 days ago, and they're looking mighty rough. They always do when they go in. We put them in really small. You can see these transplants are just little bitty sticks, but that's the way we put them in. They'll grab hold quick. Most of them will survive. Now we get out here to the greenhouse and we'll see what we've got going on. We've got some little cabbages. These probably doubled in size in the past 2-3 days. These are new. We'll go around this way. We have some cilantro. This was, I guess, the first late batch, I could say. The other one didn't hold in, so we've been behind, but this is about 2 weeks. It ought to be ready to start harvesting. But we made sure we got another batch here. This is some more cilantro, and we just put this out, and so that's why I'm planted more seeds, because if you want to keep cilantro, when you put some in the ground, put some more seeds, start some more seeds, because cilantro doesn't germinate real quick. Now here's some more cabbage that we grew from seed. This is a little older than the other, probably a couple weeks older, but it stayed in its cell trace probably a little longer than it should, but it's taking hold. Now we've got lettuce, but now we do have this in the greenhouse. It's got some shade cloth. You could grow this outside, but you'd really have to watch the water. Sun would really want to bolt this into going to seed. As long as it gets plenty of water, you can grow you some lettuce now. If you have a place where it doesn't get a whole lot of sunshine, especially not a lot of evenings sunshine, more shaded, lettuce would be ideal. We have some red lettuces here, 2 varieties. One's a little quicker growing than the other one. These tend to, for me, they seem to take the heat a little bit better. They won't start to bolt. And if you're familiar with leaf lettuce, which this is what we'll pick for leaf lettuce, you can do the romaine the same way, but we're going to grow these in the heads. But the leaf lettuce, when it starts to rise up, it starts getting some distance between when it makes its next leaf. That's usually it's starting to go to seed, and that's usually what we do when we pick it, especially if we're going to eat it or take it to the market. We actually taste a leaf and make sure they're not trying to get bitter, because in the heat it's real hard to grow lettuce. This is the first bunch we've done since probably April or May. We have some more cabbages over here. Now at the end I said the cabbages, these are actually broccoli, and I like to grow broccoli in the heat. I could grow it year round. It's just a matter of having space and putting it out. But as long as you give it plenty of water, I always water it first thing in the morning, and I try to water it a little bit before sundown, probably a couple hours before, give it time to dry its leaves off. And this cabbage was red cabbage. Now this take a long time. It'll probably be in here even when it starts getting colder and we've got to drop the sides. All this cabbage here is the same as that other. We put it out at the same time. Our Mitchahili, a lot of it's going to seed. You can see we come through here every morning and we'll pick this in the morning because it's putting up its little seed top. And we've got another one there. I can see maybe another one by morning, but I always make sure I give it plenty of water. But these, it has been hot and I've seen them wilt down. And that's the key to growing some things, is keep them from wilting, because when they wilt, then they get stressed and they go to seed. Now, this here is blues cabbage. It's a Napa cabbage, and it's a little bit older, but it grows good in the heat. So if you want a good lettuce substitute, this will grow a lot better in the heat than your lettuces. But you can see some of these I didn't get water in time till they get a hold, and that's what's going to happen. They're just going, once they wilt, they get stressed, they just die out. Same thing with the Mitch Healy. A lot of them will die out if they really wilt down bad. But anyway, as far as some of your cooler weather plants, you can still grow them. It just takes a little bit more technique. And the main thing is water, especially because, like I say, we've been in the hundreds. Well, I say the hundreds, right there at 100, 98, 99, and 100 here for a while. We hadn't got any rain, probably at least the last 2 weeks. So everything is having to be watered. But we'll go through and show how everything is on a garden update. But I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this encouraged you to go ahead and plant some things. A lot of these, like your brassicas, your broccolis, your cauliflowers, things like that, if you can get a good start on them before your weather turns cold, they'll do real great. And then whenever they get that cold weather on them, it'll make them sweeten up, and they'll be really good tasting. But anyway, if you want to see more videos like this, of course, hit that subscribe, hit the bell, select all. And please give this video a good big old thumbs up. And as always, share this video. Enjoy that gardening experience.